I was just about to ask if they needed a substitute, but we are jumping into first map. Damn. Apologies, I was not ready to jump in so suddenly. Top floor bros is on the offense. Excuse me. Been a while since I've casted down. I believe it's been 4, maybe 5 casts. But I'll be interested to see some of these plays. Fellars, a team I know more for Fail. We'll see how they do in Breachers. I have seen a few of these people in Veil. Aiken, Bug, pretty good Veil players. We'll see if that transfers over to Breachers. Rose has been doing pretty good recently though. We'll see if Fellars is able to take them on. Still up on roof for now. Drone's gonna go in. There is a player on door and in break room. They're gonna have to be careful. Drone will spot the player on door. However, Bud on the door is going to be able to get that pick. Gonna go for a lean peek, but he's not there anymore. They're instead gonna have to be careful break room. However, no, did the drone go that way? Oh, could be dangerous. A lot of action happening here in the hallway and on B. However, Fellers is able to get the last pick. Very good plays from both sides. Alright, we are now second round, bottom floor this time. You do usually see A site pushes, however B isn't too difficult to push either. It does seem like we may be seeing a split push from Bros though. Yes, the beaver here in the corner. Does look like the team has went ahead and gravitated towards a site. However, there is a player back there. Spike Jr. is able to get a lot of damage, however, they're not dead yet. David is very close here. Maybe gonna catch a pick. Wallbangs gets some damage, however, Kuma is able to get him, not before Aiken does get a TK. Unfortunate. We're now in a sort of standstill while we get foam on the wall. Util goes out. We'll catch one, however they don't take advantage of it. Bud is able to get one. Ugg also takes out Dreary. Now it's a 2v4, 1v4 as Bug gets that pick. There is a flank on the crouch though. We're gonna have to be careful. I am gets the flank. Now it's a 1v3. 2 HP is going to be very difficult to come back from. especially since all of the Fellars players are full HP. EMP is also on the ground. Ooh, the timing there. And Bud, holding the angle, is able to get the pick. Very good play so far from Fellars. Going into round 3, we see Fellars with a lot of utility. 2 stims, 2 ensigns, 2 nades, and 2 smokes. By now, whole top half of that buy menu. Not quite as much on the bro side, however, we are seeing a few more guns. However, recently, or I guess for most of the time, post competitive season 0, you do tend to see more utility bot, as it has sort of turned into the meta. We have seen a few distinguishing roles come out though from these bros players. For example, I see Spike Jr. and I Am. They tend to play very aggressive, and it's best if you have those 2 players playing together, because that's going to get them as many picks as possible. And we saw Spike Jr. there get one, however he did go down. Not before dealing a lot of damage. That's going to require them to use a stim on the side of Fellars. They will have to be careful for this player over here in Museum. Ooh, and Dreary's able to get that pick. However, trip mines from Bug. That's going to be unfortunate. They're going to have to recover from that. It is still 3v3, however, you tend to want to stay in player advantage. Ooh, not the greatest ensign. Bro's kind of at a standstill. EMP player not quite swinging in yet. Utility blocking their way, as said before. Utility is a big part of the game, and an unfortunate throw there. And Bug is able to get that pick. David is able to refrag. However, a lot of damage has been dealt on to the bro side. However, as I say that, Chicago gets butter, and now it's a 2v1. EMP is still stuck though. Chicago is just barely gonna miss him. However, David is able to get the pick. Very good play so far. Bros did a pretty good job there. Spike Jr. And I Am played very aggressive there in the early, very early in the game. Spike Jr. did only get 1 pick, however, it was a very good starting pick. It allowed the rest of his teammates from the stairs side to swing in, and Drury getting that roam in the museum part really opened up the playing field for them to win that round. It was looking a little bit sketchy after they got that EMP stuck underneath the bench. However, it ended up just fine because David was able to win his gunfights. However, now we're once again on this bottom floor, and Kuma playing very aggro on this hallway, a little bit more so than last time we were here. However, he may not see any action very early on. Does look like it will be a B-site push down this maintenance hallway. Do see a little bit of utility, door blocker, maybe a static. However, nothing they can't handle, especially with the drone going in. They're going to be able to clear out a lot of space. There are 2 players back here in the generator room. They're going to have to be careful, especially since the drone hasn't checked. Ooh, the timing. They could be caught out here in the hallway. Ooh, Spike Jr. is swinging out. However, he has EMP. It's down. Marui as well. Bug on a 2K. He's likely gonna rotate back. Nade goes out. Kuma takes a little bit of damage. They're gonna stay aggro on the angle though. I am playing aggro as usual. He's gonna get that pick. It's a 3v4. They were only able to get 1 pick in return. However, they're still gonna have to make a move. 1 minute on the clock. Massive health disadvantage, and they're on a player disadvantage. Stims being passed around will mitigate that a little bit. However, player disadvantage on offense is never good. Even with defense, it's not good. Still a lot of utility blocking the way, and now Chicago is very low. Utility going out as well. And IM is trying to clear the flank, maybe going for a rotation. However, there's not anyone there. Ooh, but as I say that, someone is on stairs. They're gonna get that pick. Drury and Chicago are going to be able to stem up. However, there's only 10 seconds on the clock. They're gonna have to make a move. Chicago goes down to the one on stairs. Drury is able to get one, but instantly refragged by Bug, who had the better gun. Very good start to the round there for Fellars. After getting 2 picks, most of them were able to rotate off and carrying that player advantage into the ending half of the round. They were able to stop Bros from pushing in very far before they lost all of their players in the last 30 seconds of the round. Not very good to do as an offense. If you're at a player disadvantage, you need to make a plan fast and execute it very quickly, because time tends to be one of your biggest enemies. Drone goes out. They won't quite get it. Ooh, but it's not checking security. They're gonna have to be careful. No one has checked security yet. And Kuma is able to get the one swinging security. Drone didn't go out, and now they're a player down once again. They have swung in break room though. Kuma's gonna have to be careful. Wall has been blown, and it's gonna start the push. The one in the hallway is making it a little bit difficult for Bros to push up. A lot of utility being thrown, trying to deny the swing into sight. Drury is able to get Bug. Flash goes out. It's gonna blind one player. However, David swings in 2 dead. One's in hall, one's in sight. This is looking very good. The one in sight is dead. Last one is in hallway. Chicago goes down. However, Dreary up on top is able to get the pick. Very good push. Bros did lose Spike Jr. very early on due to not droning that security side. However, the full push was actually in break room, so it wasn't that big of a deal. They were able to relatively quickly get the wall foamed and blown around a minute. Don't usually want to wait that long, however, wasn't bad timing. After all the utility was gone though, Fellars was kind of a sitting duck. They didn't have much to defend with other than pure numbers, and Bros was able to take a lot of 1v1s. Saw some very good uses of flashbangs there, especially from, I believe it was Dreary, who was able to flash one and get the swing on them. Very good plays there. EP also was able to get planted, and that just put the pressure on for Fellars, and they lost the round. Very good. Almost tied up if they can get one more round. We see a very aggressive defense. Most players, if not all, are mostly off-site. Drone in. It's gonna reveal the positions of a lot of players. Nade goes out. Ooh. Very good nade. It's gonna get a lot of damage. However, Dreary is also swinging in. Unfortunate flashbang. Another unfortunate flashbang. Dreary is able to get one. Spike Jr. supporting from the back. That's going to clear out a lot of space here for the offense. Door blocker is gone. They're going to be able to get EMP planted for basically free. A lot of utility going out. They have full player advantage. Aiken is able to get one. However, it is post-plant situation. They need to swing. One on door goes down. Now it's a 1v4 Aiken. However, Chicago is able to get that pick. Very good play there from Bros. They were able to drone in and see the positions of several of these players on Fellars' side, and they were playing very aggressive. I believe there was no one on site in the first part of that round, and Drury, swinging in, was able to get, I believe that was a 3K. Very good plays. Who else was it? Spike Jr. was also helping a lot, covering angles that Drury wasn't currently watching. Very good teamwork there, and in the end, 4 players covering 1 planter. Always good to have. That plant is one of the most important parts of the round if you're not going for kills. Now we've swapped sides, economies are reset, and Bros is on the defense. Unfortunate disconnect coming out. However, not much that can be done. Very slow push so far. Looks like they're letting drone go in, clear as much space as possible. Not a bad idea, however, you don't want to leave space what is the word? You don't want to leave space unclaimed for too long, because then someone could have the time to swing in and retake that. Grenade goes out. That's going to take out Kuma. Good nade from Chicago. That's going to even out a tiny bit. It's still a 3v5 though. Interesting to only have 2 players actually pushing site. Oh, what we see here, Butter is in sight with EMP. Flank watch has turned off, and they're instead going straight for a sight push. However, EMP planter is dead. They didn't do a great job at covering, and now the flank is coming in. Bug is in sight, and Halo is able to get the flank. Turns have table. Drury is now on his own. 1v3. EMP is not planted though. It does get planted, and now it's a retake situation. It does have more health, however, he gets double swung there. Doorway and EMP. Very good teamwork from there from Fellars. In the beginning was looking a little bit sketchy. Very slow push in. They did drone though. You do want to drone unless you're specifically going for speed. Waited a little bit on that wall blow with two flank watches at the same time. A little bit odd play. However, they did rotate back to site, and when the flank was coming, they did have a flank watch. Always good to see. And after they got player advantage from killing the flank and getting one in sight, they were able to get EMP planted and cover it very well. Good place in the end. We do see a bathroom in museum side push. Very convenient that Bros has two players in here. Crazy coincidence. Oh, they are droning though. This could be bad. Ooh, a lot of damage early on. Very good. Kuma's going to be very low. Ooh, he's getting pinched. Spike Jr. is there to help though. Nade goes in. Spike Jr. is going to have to swing, and he does. One dead. Ooh. Spike Jr. goes down though. Swing out. Now it's a 2v2. One's still on the boxes. They're heading. Chicago is low. Maybe get some help from his teammates or rotate back to site. He does rotate back. Now it's a 2v2. Minute on the clock. Fellars is gonna have to make a move soon. They have picked up EMP and breaching foam. They're gonna have most of the resources needed to push site. Pros being smart, having a 2-2 split. Whenever you have a even amount of players, you tend to want to have one player on each site or split it equally. Especially in a 2v2, you don't have player advantage or anything really, or even health advantage. You want to make sure you're covering both sides as much as possible. Grenade goes out, won't actually catch the kill. However, Chicago on the roam is able to get Butter, who is rotating out after plant. It is very common to have a roam after the EMP gets planted, but Aiken doesn't care. They just got a 2k, closing out the round. Almost match point for Fellars. This is going pretty one-sided. Fellars has been doing a very good job so far. Kuma plays aggro, however, David is able to take advantage. Or no, David was the one playing aggro, but Chicago is able to refrag that, or trade it out. Foam is on wall, and Kuma's playing very aggro. Chicago goes down. Unfortunate swing up. Spike Jr. is able to get that pick. That's a rifle down. Halo is able to get Spike Jr. played a little bit too aggro. Self flashbang twice. Not great. Bug is able to get one of the players on site. Now it's a 1v3. EMP is getting planted. Ooh, Dreary is able to get two of them. And the 3K to clutch the round. Oh my goodness. They were covering the EMP, but not at the right place or right time. Holding the wrong angles. Unfortunate. That was looking really good for Fellars as well. 3v1 EMP getting planted, however. Drury coming at an unexpected angle and able to clear out the players. Very good play, very good game sense. We are seeing on round 10, Fellers go ahead and push break room. This is the same one Bros did. Last round they had this floor on offense. However, Bros seems a little bit more ready. Basically 4 players on the site while there's one downstairs roam. Not uncommon to see downstairs roam, however, not quite as useful to sit downstairs while they're droning a site. However, not something you can know very easily. Kuma pre-firing the angle here, trying to make sure it's clear, and thankfully it is for now. However, they don't know one's on stairs, and Spike Jr. is able to get 2 from stairs. However, Kuma is able to refrag that finally. They lost 2 players though. Unfortunate. It's going to be hard to recover from that. However, as I say that, Budmaster gets 1. Dreary refrags it. Aiken is very low. And we may be seeing a rotation in order. Does look like we will be. However, David was almost ready for it. Kuma with the better gunplay though. Dreary is able to get that pick. Didn't even see him put his gun up. Ooh. Aiken gets double swung. However, Drury does accidentally reverse TK themselves. Very good round there from Bros. It was looking pretty good for Bros in the beginning, and they were able to carry it through it. Spike Jr. downstairs, not uncommon roam. However, Fellers wasn't ready for it, and that allowed them to get 2 picks from stairs. Kuma was able to refrag it, but the damage was done, and after one more died on break room, no, not break room wall, just a door, they decided to rotate. However, David was there ready and called out to his teammates, and Dreary and I Am were able to double swing the last player, Aiken, and got the round win. Kuma, definitely a very good fragger on the side of Fellers. Always good to have at least one of those. You tend to want to see 2, though. 2 that play very well together, because that's going to be the most important part. Drone goes in. Will find the one in bathroom. Very good play. Bathroom does rotate back to site, but Bug, he's able to catch him out before he can get the full rotate. Another drone goes in, however the stairs roam is late. They might be able to catch out the player here. No, Aiken has crossed in time, however it will be a thorn in their side later on. Static is blocking the way, however they are able to get into sight. Instant does go out. Won't quite catch the planter though. EMP is gonna get planted. However, Chicago on the roam, 2 kills. Dreary Insight is able to get 1. Bug 2K in response. Bug swinging out gets 1. However, Chicago with the 2K. Was that an ace? No, it wasn't. Dreary got one of those kills. A 4K clutch, though, very good. That flank was very strong. The drone had gone by, Aiken had crossed as well. They were not ready for it. Very good timing. You always want good timing on roams. Otherwise, it means nothing. Good drone tends to come in depending on if the EMP is planted or not. If it's not, you tend to want to go in right as the walls are being blown because their attention is going to be on the site more than the flank. Or if it's a little bit further in the round, during or right after the EMP is planted, and we saw Chicago going in right after the EMP was planted. Very good plays. Do see Spike Jr. playing very aggressive again, however he will rotate back to site. Always a good idea, your life is much more important than getting a pick. Drone does go in, will clear a lot of space, however they will have to be careful of upstairs. There is one on this hallway stairwell. Ooh, the timing there. Bug jiggle peaks, but Chicago hadn't peaked yet. This could be good. Chicago is able to get 1. Not quite 2. Bud is very low, though. Almost a good roam. However, they do only have 1 stim. Bud will be able to get to full HP. However, it will take a little bit of time. In that time, Spike Jr. is here. 2K collateral. Instant will go out. Catches a lot of damage. Bud goes down. Now Halo's in a 1v3. Very good 3K there from Spike Jr. That's going to set up the rest of the round for Bros. And IM is going to get that last pick for Bros, winning it out. This map was looking very good for Fellars in the beginning. They had a, I believe it was 2-point lead in the first half. However, Bros was able to pull it back. Sorry, Lion. This cast was asked first. I didn't even know you were having a scrim until a little bit later today. Very good map from these two teams, though. 15 and 8 from Bug. On the side of Bros, though, 3 double digits, 12 and 9, 14 and 8, 10 and 11. Very high amounts of assists coming out as well. We see a 9, an 8, 7, 3 6s. Very good plays coming out from both teams. A lot of damage dealt. Does look like our next map will be chosen soon as well. Maybe even go straight into it. Ship? This is ship, right? I'm not blind. Yeah. Alrighty. Heading into map 2, ship. Fellars is on offense, no side swap yet. We are on middle floor. We'll see how Bros decides to defend this. Usually you see one or two on A, a hold here in medbay, possibly someone on box, and then a roam upstairs. We'll see if they decide to do something similar. If Spike Jr. Decides to keep up the roam. However, it does seem that Chicago will instead start becoming our main roam by the looks of it. Starting on map 1, ending half of defense. We saw them roaming a little bit more. Perhaps we'll see that coming out. However, it does seem like it will be an A-site push. We see 2 upstairs, likely going for the hatch, and 3 downstairs, likely going for the hallway here. Hopefully they do have a player here. And they do. There is one on A site. Hopefully they can call out any audio. Ooh, does look like they have caught on. They have full rotated over to A site. The roam is also getting ready. Fellers does have control of bathroom, however they're waiting on the vent. However, Chicago on the roam does get taken out. Very good play there from Fellers, and it's a full rotation. Bug is going to be able to get EMP down for free, while Kuma goes down after running in. Aiken goes down as well. David 3K refrag by Butter. Drury also gets one. Now it's a 3v1. However, Halo is in the other site. He's not going to be able to get the defuse. Oh, Halo gets the 2K after EMP is disarmed, but doesn't really matter. we are now on top floor. Bros is defending. We do see a roam all the way downstairs. Not sure if it's going to come in a little late, though. Do see drone coming in. There is a player in hallway. Foam is on wall very early, though. First 15 seconds. Hopefully they can get that blown soon. Maybe also, yes, foam is on both walls. Defense is playing very backside. One still in hallway, rotating off though. Both walls are now blown. Utility going out. Flashbangs, grenades. No instants yet though. Ooh, bad grenade goes in. Ooh, Butter and Kuma swing in. Aiken gets one. Refragging bug. However, Halo is there. But goes down to IM. A lot of trades coming out here, however. Bros coming out on top. Very low players though. Drury and Spike Jr. were both one shot by most guns. Round 3, Fellars is opting for a B-site push through Fire Room. Not an uncommon push. This is the main one you see. It isn't too bad, however, B-site does tend to be a tiny bit easier. We'll have to be careful of double trips. Not an uncommon spot. Hopefully they're aware. Proxy does go off. It's going to let them know they're in Fire Room. Ooh, grenade from Ven. Will catch a little bit of damage. Instant as well. That's gonna stop the push for a few seconds. Kuma will get ready to swing this though. One on stairs. They're going to rotate off though. Very good timing, especially since they were about to be swung. Nade goes out, won't catch anything. Trips are gone, however. Wall not quite blown. I am in the corner. This is going to be difficult for them to take care of unless they're right up against the wall, which is dangerous if someone's on bomb. Spike Jr. has rotated off of top floor and is going back to A. Push is really slowed down though. IM might have just revealed his position. Could be bad. Kuma is able to get that pick. Very good gunplay. Drury with the 2K. 3K. David gets one. Last guy is now in fire. However, he goes down. Or Drury goes down, sorry. Aiken is now in a 1v3. 7 HP though. It's going to be very tough. Does get a lot of damage off. He's going to rotate off though. Not sure if there's any stems on the ground. It'd be a miracle if there was though. EP is also stuck inside though. Ooh, Chicago jumps out. Vent almost goes down, however, is able to get the pick. Very good play there from both sides. Fellars did a pretty good job at getting in early. Definitely very good avoiding dying due to that vent. Very good hold there. They did let a lot of utility be traded there. However, not much you can do about that. Can't really shoot someone while they're around the corner. Unless you have high ping, but that's not really going to happen here. After that, Spike Jr. rotated off very good. He was able to get back to site safely. That's the most important part. You gotta pick, rotate back. Your life is far more important than getting a second pick, especially on defense. On offense, it's a little bit less manageable to save yourself when you're swinging the angle. However, on defense, if you have the opportunity to rotate off, it is much better to save yourself than kill one more opponent and go down trying. However, Spike Jr. was able to rotate off, and numbers advantage on site usually means you win. We do see Spike Jr. downstairs. They have an RCP once again. Flashbang, not the greatest one. Won't catch out anyone on stairs. They're still going to have to be careful. Oh, good flashbang. That's going to tell him once on stairs. And, oh, but Dreary is able to get... Okay, I'm not able to change perspective. Apologies. They do have foam on wall and hallway. Dreary is able to pre-fire that though. Kuma getting one. Chicago swinging door. Oh, Halo just around the corner. Now Spike Jr. is the last one. He's on roam. Hopefully Fellars knows. Aiken was the one who flashed it. And Spike Jr. is able to get that pick. EMP is on the ground in sight. Butter is able to get it on the wall and swings out, gets Spike Jr. And that's going to be Fellers' first round on the board. Very good start there from Fellers. They were able to... I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on words now. Okay, sorry. Bros was looking very good in the beginning. They had player advantage while wall was blown. However, Fellers was able to get the hallway wall, and that let them take a lot of space. And that left Spike Jr. on his own. He was able to get a pick. However, gun disadvantage did not work in his favor. We are now seeing a fire room push coming out once again. Not much utility. Spike Jr. is playing sight as well. I'm not sure. No, they... Oh, they're down a player. Okay, they lost one. Foam is on wall. Spike Jr. is going to rotate back. Utility being tossed in. Might catch out the one back sight here. Ooh, Spike Jr. takes a lot of damage. However, he's still holding the angle. Crazy persistence. Chicago is able to get one. Kuma swings sight. Refract by Dreary. Not before getting two, though. Dreary gets a second. And now it's a 1v1. And Dreary... Was that a 4K clutch? Very good play nonetheless if it's a 3K, 4K. Playing under that much stress, all of your teammates dying around you, you're stuck one versus some amount, and he's able to pull it back. Very good play. Fellers was looking very good there. Even Bros is even at a player disadvantage. They got fire room very quickly. Wall was blown. They had space in sight, but Dreary said no and got them all. All of them died. Very good play there. Dreary did a very good job. Excellent game sense. Using that audio to your advantage. We do see a roam downstairs a little bit further out just to not get caught by a drone checking very close. Drone will be going in bunks, however, it won't see anyone here in medbay. Something I don't completely agree with, however, I can see that given the fact that they are at a huge player disadvantage. Foam is on wall, Spike Jr. is gonna have to be careful. Although I would like to comment on his way of holding his gun and using utility. It's something super unique. I've never seen anything like it before. And I'm just curious on how he figured it out. Utility goes out, EMP will be getting planted, and I am on the roam, is able to get two. Bug trades with Chicago, or gets to trade for Chicago. I am on the roam, gets another one. Spike Jr. also got Kuma, now it's a 2v1. Spike Jr. is gonna swing out, surprised in the corner. Ooh, and Butter, checking the wrong way, gets caught out. And that's round 6, 1 out. 4 bros. That's going to be swap sides 5-1. Very strong position right now for bros. Almost complete opposite of how it was last map. Hang on. Caps on. Fellars. Now sides have swapped, economies reset. Fellars on defense, they have player advantage. Oh no, Crazy Lee has subbed. Sorry, wasn't ready for that level difference. Crazy Lee having a little bit higher level than everyone in the lobby, but we'll see how that works out. Crazy Lee has subbed in though, it's gonna be 5v5. No longer any major player advantage for Fellars. We're going to be seeing likely a fire room side push. Spike Jr. Is that Spike Jr.? Yeah, Spike Jr. was playing aggro, however, not sure what's happening. Maybe a A-site rotation? Interesting choice for very early in the round. Okay, that should not have worked. Alright, so the scoreboard won't show up for you in until 5 minutes, but here is your scoreboard. I'll show it again in a second, because EMP is getting planted. Spike Jr. has gotten one. Dreary as well, one on the roam. Chicago on his own now, one dead. Swings out the wrong way though. Alright, and now line the scoreboard you asked for. Might take a sec for it to come up. However, Dreary, very good job so far. 15-4. Just into the second half and already double digits. Very good plays. A lot of his teammates have very high assists as well. 6 assists coming out from Spike Jr. They also have pretty even kills other than him. 5, 4, 4. Fellars not doing too bad either. Pretty spread out amount of kills among the top 3. Average of around 6. Bug and Aiken doing a little bit worse. Bug doing very good on first map. Maybe his ship isn't so much his forte. Very good plays so far from both sides though. Bros obviously doing a little bit better given the score. We're now on top floor. Bros did a pretty good job defending this both times. We'll see if Fellars can defend pretty similarly. Looks like we will be seeing an A-site push. Maybe starboard side. But no, they have decided to split up a little bit. Always a good idea. Drone going in. Hopefully it checks stairs. However, there are no stairs rooms, only 2 hallway. However, they don't know this. They can't see these outlines that we see. Door blocker is in the way, and Drone did go downstairs. They don't know that there's 2 hallway rooms. They might see that there's one now. Ooh, Spike Jr. swings, gets one. However, there is still one more down the hallway. Instant goes out. However, this push has been halted a little bit. Instants have gone out, and now there's not much more utility on the side of Fellars. Kuma on the hallway is able to get one. I am still holding the angle, however. Spike Jr. still contesting the angle. Will get that pick, not before taking a little bit of damage, though. Foam is on wall. They're going to want to get that open pretty soon. The wall is blown. There is one behind the terminal. One also on door. Not ready for that. And now they're going to be able to rotate off. Last guy on the terminal is able to get one. However, I am swinging in, is able to get that last pick. Very good teamwork there, swinging from multiple angles. Very good there. Bros, in the beginning, they did check stairs. Always a good idea. Always have that drone check downstairs. Downstairs rooms can be fatal if you don't deal with them. However, this time it was 2 hallway rooms. Pretty uncommon. You usually only see at least one, or at most one, sorry. However, they had 2, and Fellers was able to get, or Bros was able to get one of them very early on. Very good. Bros is now on match point. They're going to have to, if Fellers wants to win, they're going to have to pull up a perfect performance for the next, is it 5 rounds? Yeah, 5 rounds. Yeah, they're going to have to pull back 4 rounds to make it to OT and then win OT. Ooh, Spike Jr. gets Kuma and rotates off just in time. Second kill there. Bug also goes down. Massive player advantage in the favor of Bros. They will have to be careful for this player in hallway, though. Do get some damage, and we're going to stick to bathroom. Not a bad choice. You want to... A good roam will often be a thorn in the side, however, not die too soon. And now they're the last player, and Spike Jr. is able to get that pick, closing out the map. Very dominant performance from Bros this map. 7-2, very good plays. Fellers didn't do bad, however, someone by the name of Dreary did a whole lot better. I'll be putting up those final scores for you guys. 2 of the Fellers players have left. Not sure if they're swapping out players or if this is the end of the scrim. However, Dreary doing a very good job. 17-5. Kuma pretty close, but well, not pretty close. Not too far behind. 8-9, top of their team, as far as I know. Looks like the scrim is over, unless we're swapping servers. Alright, looks like that is the end of the server. Or, not server, scrim. Thanks for watching if you did. Uh, look forward to seeing you in the next cast. Not sure when that's gonna be. Probably not tomorrow night. Uh, it's gonna be Sunday, Monday's first day, actual day of school. Besides that, see you in the next cast, or if I do some forefront content.